Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, as always, for inviting me to participate. This is an awesome event. I really appreciate being included. For the folks out there that I don't know, my name is Karuana Gatimu. I run the Microsoft 365 Customer Advocacy Group. My team focuses on all of the new and emerging features to drive adoption and do technical readiness and more and community work across Microsoft 365. I'm super happy to be here with you today. I know that you've had other sessions which have probably dived deeper. So I'm going to focus, I'll be sharing these slides after the session, but I'm going to focus on the conversation rather than some of the content of this deck since you may have seen some of it before. But I really want I want you to leave this event with an idea from a career and customer perspective about how these new technologies impact you and the opportunity that's available for you right now. I think sometimes we don't talk enough about the career transition that these new technologies make, and how we can really drive things forward for our own organizations, the customers we may be serving, and more. So that's the focus that I'm going to take today rather than a super deep dive into the technology, because I know you've had that in other sessions. I do want to say, just starting out, that it's important to think about this fall season as a continuation of this rapid pace into the age of AI, right? We've had a lot of announcements in the last 8 months, and more are coming. We're in the fall announcement season at Microsoft now. And so this event is very much at the beginning of that season. Tomorrow morning, we have a large AI event in New York City, which you should definitely tune into. We can give you that link. You can find it on LinkedIn. But you're going to start to hear more, of course, as we run up to our major flagship event, Microsoft Ignite. So between now and mid-November, you'll hear even more about what we're doing across the metaverse, across Microsoft AI services, across this space. And so, even though it feels like it's been a super rapid pace, more is coming. And I think that's why it's really important to take a people first approach. As always, I will tell you that technology only matters to the extent that it can impact the lives of the people that we serve. Technology is a tool to be of service to an organization, to a community, to a planet. That's what our technology is about. And so, as professionals in this space, it's important that you take in that idea of how can you best wield this technology as a tool in your toolkit to serve the people that matter to you. Maybe it's your family because you're the breadwinner in the family. Maybe it's your company. It might even be your own company, or if you're a consultant, the customers that you serve. But we must connect these advancements to business value for it to be meaningful to people. Now, I'm a big tech geek, and so I really love the tech for the sake of the tech, right? I love to talk about quantum computing and AI and the metaverse and everything that's happening in collaboration and productivity and content knowledge management. I mean, I just love all of that. But what I really love is seeing how it changes people's lives and seeing what we can do with it in a meaningful business context. There's so much innovation that needs to be done in healthcare, in education, in manufacturing, in sustainability. That is why Microsoft invested 10 years ago in this space, and you're seeing the fruits of that labor now. We have to make this connection to employees. In the Microsoft Viva area and the employee experience, more announcements will be coming about the things that we're doing there, but there will be no part of the Microsoft service stack that isn't touched by this innovation. That's the commitment that Satya has made. We know that our services are already transformative in what they deliver. And with the addition of AI and metaverse capabilities, we really go to the next level. But it is absolutely critical that we are focused on improving the employee experience, improving the business value that is realized. So many times in the adoption work that I do, I talk to customers and they are really only using about 20% of the capability that they've already paid for with a Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 license. There is so much work to be done to close the gap between what people have and what people are using and how they're realizing that value. So, yes, of course, I'm going to talk to you about some of the capabilities and features of Copilot and the metaverse, but it's important to hear all of the announcements that we're making and all of this work that we're doing in the context of the people we serve. So, that's my pitch to make sure to connect the dots there. The other thing is from a career perspective, we Pune and myself and others have the privilege of getting to work on building these services. We are product makers at Microsoft, Times #1 company in the world for 2023, and it's a proud place to be. However, we are also managers and consumers of the technology as well, and thinking about that from a usage perspective. And so we need to hear back from you, but also recognize that this is a career opportunity for all of you. There's not enough people in the world who can translate technology to business value. We call ourselves business solution architects. Both Pune and myself have been BSAs for a very long time. We both got our start in that area, being able to make that translation between technology and business, and that is a critical skill. So if you don't know how to do that, or if you're not thinking about that as a career path, I'd encourage you to do so, because it requires that you have a broad horizontal understanding of technology with a depth in certain key spaces like automation and emerging tech. It also requires that you have some people skills and the ability to transform a business process. It's actually tremendously fun work because you get the people and the tech together. And so the opportunity for those of you who might want to continue to expand your skills, either on the developer extensibility side of the house or on the implementation and service adoption side of the house as a business solution architect, is real. And the depth of need for that in the industry is expanding. And so I'm excited that Microsoft Learn and our partnership with them is going to deliver some additional content where you'll be able to expand those skills. So stay tuned for those announcements as we move forward towards Microsoft Ignite. I would be remiss if I didn't say that Microsoft Ignite is coming, and it is a virtual experience as well. Obviously, there are folks who can come to Seattle, and we love to have you come to Seattle because it's a fun place. A little chilly in November, but still fun. But it is a virtual experience. And of course, the content will be available on demand. And that's going to be a fantastic way to expand your skills, just like this event, right? Sometimes I think, I mean, I appreciate our flagship events, of course I do, but I have a place, there's a deep and abiding place in the world for events just like this one, so that you can really hear deeper, more technical content. You can learn from other people who are doing the work. And I'm just very grateful to the organizers and sponsors of this event. Thank you for pushing through. This was born during the pandemic before, but then transformed during the pandemic, and you've done an amazing job. So thank you. All right, let's talk about this new frame of reference. If you were here last year, you may have seen a similar slide, but this is important to understand. You have to have a new strategy. There are different opportunities, and you must be leveraging feedback to improve service adoption, service usage, and scenarios in your organization. Within that context of putting your employees first and your customers and your partners, this allows you to pivot and to leverage the new capabilities appropriately. One of the things to know is some folks and pundits write about how people aren't ready for AI, people aren't ready for the metaverse. I disagree. The folks and the organizations who are going to lead in the future are ready and are thinking about how to use these technologies in their organization today. They may not have implemented it yet because, of course, Microsoft, we're still releasing features, but they're definitely thinking about how to use this differently and how to transform their business scenarios, how to respond to the business and cultural challenges that we've all experienced over the last few years. So don't let the pundits deter you from doubling down and really understanding what are the primary scenarios in your company where these new capabilities are going to be a competitive edge. Competition in the business landscape is fierce, and you and your organizations and you and your career, you want to have every tool in your toolkit to make sure that you can win in those competitive situations. We feel like our capabilities are a competitive differentiation. I know for sure I'm seeing this in many customers that I have the privilege of working with. My team is leading adoption and technical readiness for Copilot for our early adopter program, and getting to see people really leaning in, their enthusiasm, them creatively coming up with ideas and ways to use this new technology is fascinating, and more is going to come. So that's how you should be thinking of this as you go through this. But the feedback pillar from employees, from customers, and from the partners you're trying to serve is going to be the North Star. It's going to help you have a rudder through all of the change that we're dealing with, right? Your customers will tell you when something is working and when they like it. They will also be very vocal when they don't. And so, making sure you have that well oiled in your organization is important. As I mentioned before, the AI capabilities you're seeing is based on decades of research and development. This is not new for us. We've been working on it for quite some time, to varying degrees of visibility to the world. But it's very, very important that we talk about the fact that we have built these capabilities with safety and responsible AI practices from the top. All throughout the service. It is literally what I talk about every single day. We must ensure safety, which includes privacy, security, compliance, and governance. And we must ensure that we are, meeting the aspirations we have for responsible AI implementation and services. And so our CTO has created a responsible AI governance board. Every service goes through and is constantly reviewed. Any feedback that we get is reviewed, and adjustments are being made. This is new technology. There are going to be bumps in the road, but I feel extremely confident about the way that we have put into engineering practices the ideas of responsible AI and safety. I literally have never seen Microsoft across so many divisions rally so cohesively around one idea as now. And I'm very close to the sun on this, for better or worse. We call it the Copilot crazy train, right? It's just running at a rapid pace, but not so rapid that we aren't hyper focused on the trust that we have in the industry. We want to make sure that everybody is clear that our large language models are not being trained on your corporate data. That's absolutely critical that people understand. And every time you talk about Microsoft 365 Copilot or the Metaverse or OpenAI, Azure OpenAI services, that should be the next sentence, right? That we have built in responsible AI and safety capabilities from the get-go. We still have this list of 10 technologies that we need to understand to build what's next. It's about what does the world need, what are the tools that we have, and how do we build it together. Hybrid AI, low code and no code, our collaborative apps in the metaverse are my favorites. Probably that bottom row is where I really spend most of my time. And that's like the front line, right? The things that we build that end users actually see are basically their only experience of these new technologies. So every time you build a team, every time you empower a frontline worker, when you teach somebody how to customize their avatar, in their world, that is their experience of the new tech. And sometimes I think we forget that. They don't know everything we know about this. They only know what they see. And it's like a tip of the spear strategy. Like, what is that first experience? So, as you're thinking about rolling these things out and implementing them in your organization, think about what is that first experience that your users are going to have with these capabilities, right? Um, I also want to, let's keep going here. I also want to focus on, for those of you out there who are developers or builders or makers, there is a Copilot stack that you should be thinking about. And it incorporates, and there's a similar slide I'm sure you saw throughout the event. And if not, we'll make sure to get it to you. There's a similar slide around the metaverse as well from an IT pro extensibility perspective. And maybe it was in Pune's deck. But I want you to be thinking about these capabilities as a stack, right? And especially when we're thinking about how to build line of business solutions that utilize AI in the future. It's wonderful that we're releasing Microsoft 365 Copilot and Microsoft, Sales Copilot, and what we're doing in Power Platform. That's great. But what's really going to come next is when you are building your own copilots for your own processes in your organization, and there is a safety stack, a safety layer that is built in there as you think about AI orchestration and powered by the graph in your organization. If you have licenses for Microsoft 365 Copilot, when those become available at general availability, that unlocks the Microsoft graph from a Copilot perspective. Bing Chat Enterprise is using content in your environment that you have access to that is not within the graph. That is really the difference between Bing Chat Enterprise and Microsoft 365 Copilot versus the publicly available things or the consumer experiences like Bing Chat. But this extensibility stack and being able to execute here is going to be the subject of many upcoming workshops, many learning paths published on Microsoft Learn. But again, this is early, right? And so as we go through the rest of this fall, that's when you're going to see these announcements and these actual things you can go do, right? Instead of just listening to us all talk about it. I'm really excited for the workshops and the content to publish on Microsoft Learn because that democratizes the access to these capabilities. Don't let anybody tell you that democratization is just a word. No, it's very important that everyone on the planet have access to these capabilities so we don't create a situation where we have the AI haves and the AI have-nots. That is top of mind at Microsoft, this availability, this ubiquitousness of the capabilities so that people can really lean in and it can benefit everyone. That's super important. And that's why we have the sometimes confusing menu of options between Bing Chat, Bing Chat Enterprise, and Microsoft 365 Copilots. There is a cost model there, and there's an access model, but the training that we'll release and the ability to build your own copilots will be available to all. So this slide just speaks to what I was talking about responsible AI. You can put Microsoft responsible AI in your favorite search engine and get to this blog post by Brad Smith. You can see our strategy. You can see the principles of it. We've recently been obviously testifying before Congress about this and really saying, yes, we believe that there needs to be guardrails. Let's talk about how that should happen. And the important note about this is many of the things you need to do to be ready for AI are the same things you should really be doing in Microsoft 365 right now. You need to have good data hygiene. You need to understand your permissions model. You should have some governance around provisioning of Microsoft 365 groups and teams, things of that nature. Your identity house, is your identity house in order? How are you handling guest accounts? When you see at Ignite, I'm doing a pre-day, but also an on-demand session on Microsoft 365 governance. Please use that. That will release for Ignite on-demand content. I'll be promoting it individually. It's not a live session. It's on demand. The core functionality of M365 governance is not that much different than what you need to do in preparing for both the Metaverse and Microsoft 365 Copilot. So those of you who are good governance fans out there, or maybe have been following our work on this and mine in particular over the years, now's our moment once again to pitch the governance group and to really partner with adoption managers, user experience folks, and IT pros to get that work done. We have our components here of how Microsoft 365 Copilot is grounded. So again, y'all can read this slide. I really want to get to some of the business scenarios. I'm cognizant of time. But the thing about Microsoft 365 Copilot that's a differentiator between Bing Chat Enterprise and the consumer Bing Chat experience is that it's integrated into the apps that people already use. Right. So seeing Copilot in Teams, in Outlook, in Word, etc., is important. What's also important, however, is the ability to understand that we're not just teaching someone a new feature. It's not like teaching someone how to go through a click path on the screen. Copilot doesn't work that way. Copilot is you having a conversation with your computer about the work you need to do, right? And it aggregating information for you and making inferences and returning answers to you. This is a very different work mode. It's a very different training mode. It's a very different way of interaction, right? And so when people compare it to the rise of the cloud or the internet, I agree, because it simply changes everything about the way that we approach our work in a daily basis. Certainly, when I now have to write a strategy paper and I start writing that with Copilot and Word, and I tell it what I want and I show it some other presentations and it starts it for me, obviously I have to rewrite it and tweak it and make sure it's accurate. That's a part of using Copilot always. But that saves me so much time. But I also have to think about what I'm asking differently, right? And I want people to have empathy for IT professionals and end users and adoption managers to realize that we all have to make this pivot towards a different way of handling our work. I'm going to pause and take a look over here at the chat. First experience. Okay. Earl's in Bellevue. Yes, there you go. Okay, fantastic. Please make sure to put any questions you have in the chat. I'll pause periodically so that I can answer them. So definitely do that. All right. So when we think about um, the metaverse and we think about M365 Copilot, I'm putting them together because here's the thing. They are both transformative technologies. And of course, also this event is a little ahead of some of the announcements that we want to make. So I can't show you all the bright, shiny new stuff. I know Pune took you as far as she could go in that as well. But I want to just reiterate the fact that we are deeply invested in the metaverse and in mesh and what it can do. I'm really excited about getting to work with that team as they make announcements and continue to go through this fall season. I know folks have been waiting for a while, but I prefer that you all wait for something super cool and super well architected, and for us to be able to action your feedback. We took a lot of feedback when we first did some of the private preview stuff and work with the original avatars and what have you. And the team has really taken that to heart. So I'm excited about that. And the same thing is true for M365 Copilot, right? We are in our preview process. The early adopter program is a pay to play scenario where large organizations have, paid for the licensing to test it out. And it's all about the feedback right now, right? In this deck, like I said, I'm not going to do every single slide here, but I will share with you in this deck the different videos, and so that you can see the scenarios. I'm quite sure that you've seen some of this through the event already. It really is about unleashing creativity and productivity. That is what the Microsoft 365 Copilot is about. I happen to love this slide because anything that clarifies the Microsoft product set is a good thing, right? We know that we can be a little confusing on that, but this is the slide that tells you the difference between Bing Chat, Bing Chat Enterprise, and Microsoft 365 Copilot. It's very important that folks have that understanding. The commercial data protection that is available in both Bing Chat Enterprise and Microsoft 365 Copilot is really important as part of that trust and responsible AI capability. And having in Microsoft 365 Copilot, having the access to the Microsoft Graph content built into the apps we know and love. And then, of course, having that enterprise security, compliance, and privacy as a part of our safety layer is the differentiator there. So you have these options. But one of the things I suggest that people do from a practical standpoint is go to Edge, log in. If you don't have a work profile already set up, do so, and start to work with Bing Chat Enterprise, because it will return information from the documents and from things that you have access to. And you can start to begin to model how the types of questions or insights that you ask. I try to put this in when I would normally go to my enterprise search on my intranet, which we call MSW, I do some of those searches in Bing Chat Enterprise to compare and contrast the kinds of answers that I get. That's how I'm teaching myself how to best use BCE. And then, of course, I have access to Copilot itself. And of course, I'm teaching myself that as well. People underestimate the fact that we too have to learn this. We have to have our own aha moment and end user experience with this technology for us to be able to help anyone else. So if you haven't played with BCE and Bing Chat Enterprise, I suggest you do that. That's available. You can do that today. Microsoft 365 Copilot is not available for everyone at this moment, so there's a limitation there, but you can certainly do that. Have your own aha moment so that you can then unleash your creativity about how to then help others with this technology. I absolutely had to have that before I got it, if you will. And was able to think about how do I apply this tool to my business solution architect job that I do for many people. Yes, here you go. There you go. Yes. Okay. Now you've got the slide. I think I've answered the question. That's awesome. Yes, and you will have this slide that you too can use. Make sure I'm over here. The other difference I want to call out is the difference between the AI that's built into Microsoft Teams. What is Copilot and what is Teams Premium? There is, of course, AI built in with our intelligent recap. That is a Teams premium feature, probably not necessary for every single person in your organization, but very, very useful for large scale meetings, for executive meetings, for board meetings, things of that nature. It's intelligently provided. It summarizes the content. It includes chapters. It leverages Stream as well if you've recorded the meeting. Key highlights and takeaways. I love my intelligent recap. All right. But I do run a lot of very large meetings, especially now on Copilot. There could be 60 or 70 people in my meetings. And so I don't think it's anybody's job to take notes anymore, which makes me very happy because it used to be, the junior PM in the room or the junior person would be stuck taking the notes, or the person who is really good at it would always have to do it. We don't have to do that anymore. I was one of those people. I take very good notes, but I always had to do it. And I have other talents that I can bring to the table. And so Intelligent Recap in Teams Premium has allowed me to do that. Of course, Teams Premium is purchased on a user by user basis. So again, you don't have to purchase that for everyone. And there are many other capabilities inside Teams Premium that are good for folks, encryption and different webinar capabilities and such. And so that's something to be evaluated. Copilot in Teams is best for those on-demand insights. So I'm, almost perennially 15 minutes late for meetings, except when I'm speaking. And so I can say, Copilot, catch me up. Right, catch me up on what happened in this meeting. I can make sure that I can use Copilot in Teams for more advanced actions there and other things. And so you can definitely, there is a difference. There are different licensing fees for both of these capabilities. And so one of the actions you're going to want to take is who in your organization needs the capabilities of Teams Premium and who needs the Copilot capabilities. Is there an overlap there? And then you'll talk to your Microsoft representative about that once you've done that analysis in your organization. There are trial versions available for Teams Premium that you can try out. There's a long list of capabilities which you can find on adoption.microsoft.com and elsewhere on our product pages. But this is an exercise we're all going to need to be doing as we think about how best to leverage your technology investment budget, right? When will you have access to Microsoft 365 Copilot in Portugal? I wish I could answer the access questions. Many, many people ask me that almost every day, if not many times per day. We do not have a rollout schedule that we have made public at this time, but maybe I'll have more information after tomorrow's event. I'm not 100% sure on that, but certainly by Ignite and whatever general availability date we publish, we will have a more global rollout schedule for folks to understand. So that is not something that I have today, sadly, but it will happen eventually, and I'll be able to share that. Okay, let's move on here. So these are the kind of demo video components. There's several in this deck that actually go through some of the different experiences of Microsoft 365 Copilot. I'm gonna assume, and somebody can give me a thumbs up in the chat, that many of you have seen these things. There's one in particular that I really want to show. Hang on a second. I want to get to this one. Okay. I'm going to talk about Viva Sales. I don't have my audio turned on, I don't think. So I'm just going to talk over the video. This is an example of where you should be thinking about transformation of actually hang on one second. I need to fix this really quick. Here we go. Where you should be thinking about the transformation of your customer relationships. Again, this is about how do you get business value out of these new capabilities. So there's two things. I think we should be thinking about virtual spaces and interacting with our customers from a mesh and metaverse perspective. I think that some people like video, and I think there's lots of people who don't. And there is room in the world for our avatars to have engagements with each other. But the heart of an engagement is information and knowledge, and that is where Microsoft, Sales Copilot comes in. It is able to query the Microsoft 365 graph, your CRM system, Dynamics 365, and all of your Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and help you to answer customer questions, right? Whether it's information for proposal, insights on problems that people have, customer service tickets, things of that nature. And so having Copilot deeply integrated into your customer database allows you to more quickly respond to customer requests. This is the kind of scenario that we should all be thinking about, and whether it's healthcare or manufacturing, sales, as I've mentioned, these scenarios are what is important. Of course, I talked a little bit about what happens in Word, in PowerPoint in terms of creating documents. But what most people really want to know about is the work you have to do to get ready. Last time when I was here, I talked about the 6 steps to get ready for the metaverse. This time, I want to talk a little bit about getting ready for Copilot. And frankly, some of the things are the same, right? There are the technical requirements that you have here, that you'll be able to see in terms of the required licensing and what have you, Azure Active Directory accounts, Microsoft Entra now, etc. But the governance and making sure that you have content where it belongs, right? The old mantra of OneDrive is for me and SharePoint is for we is still true, even though we have an event coming up about the future of file management on October 3rd. Even the new features that we're going to announce, that mantra still matters, right? And so making it easy for people to put their documents where they need to be, things of that nature, is really going to help their Copilot experience. And so making sure that people are using the new Teams, for instance. Now, there's one thing that has changed here on this slide. It says users need to be using the new Outlook. That is not true. We have ported it back to the current version of Outlook 132, particular channels. So we have some updates on that. So things are still kind of changing and moving. And if you haven't enabled Loop in your tenant, I highly encourage you to do that. Copilot and Loop is pretty amazing, and Loop in general is super useful for me to stop emailing around even the cloud version of that spreadsheet and be able to co-author a nice little list right in an Outlook. Right in an email is a great thing in my world. I love Loop. Yes, that's a great question in chat, Maddie. The web experiences are definitely supported. Copilot is available in the web experiences, for PowerPoint, for Word, for Outlook, and etc. And it will, ultimately live in all of the web versions as well. When the web versions came out, I didn't use them as much, but now I use them all the time, right? And so I know a lot of people are still focused on the classic experience, but I certainly encourage people to try to, lean into the web experience, because you will see that many of our new features end up there first. It does take longer for us to update the builds and the desktop versions of things and get them out the door. It's a much longer cycle. And so for those people in your environment, especially who, if you have your own early adopter program, I encourage them to try the web versions of things. Absolutely. Um, oh, great question about Viva Engage. Yes, Copilot will be coming to the Microsoft Viva suite. I don't have clear details about which module when gets what, but also I encourage you to tune into tomorrow's event. I can't scoop my bosses, right? So, more information will be available after tomorrow's New York event. For Microsoft. And then as I mentioned, as we go through these early weeks in October leading up to Ignite, why it is announcement season. So, but Satya's commentary rings true here. You will see Copilot and AI services in everything that we do. It is now a part of our DNA as a company, and more will be coming for sure. Um, you know, again, start to really wrap yourself around the scenarios that you can empower with AI, right? But, and I should say, at the same point, every time you use a generative AI experience, that's a wonderful thing. Your very next thing should be to check it for accuracy. And this is what we have to train our end users on. It's wonderful to have it start to build my strategy document, but I need to make sure what it has said and done is correct, right? I need to make sure to be proofing those answers and the way that it's interpreted the data that it's looking at. So that's a new habit, right? If I write something myself, of course, I don't fact check myself. Now I probably should, because goodness knows I'm not right all the time, right? But it is a habit to build. And I think that all of us should get in the habit of checking, like, was any of this content that we're looking at generated with AI? We have a right to know, right? I've taken to putting this in the footers of my documents. Copilot assisted in the creation of this content. That's a footer that I have on presentations, on documents, things of that nature. So I think that this is one of the areas where we're not really clear about how to do that. I just started doing that myself. Maybe it'll become a best practice. I don't know. But I do know that we have to teach our end users and ourselves to always be validating for accuracy in all of these kinds of scenarios, and to build that in, right? And let me also check over here. I think I see a licensing question. I see. So the question here, this is the excellent question as we think about scenarios. With Microsoft 365 Copilot, we can access or query content in SharePoint Online, document library, PDF files. If yes, we must pay Azure Search Services pricing tier standard. Uh, I don't, that's actually not a requirement. The search capabilities in Copilot, well, maybe on the back end is using those components. The Copilot licensing has already been released at $30 per user per month. That gives you, if you think back on my slide that gave you the list of capabilities there as you compared it with Bing Chat Enterprise, that gave you that access to graph and insights from your documents and what have you. Documents to be reviewed or included in Copilot Insights must reside in the cloud. But it's not like there's an additional charge on top of that. If you have E3 or E5, you're already paying for search capabilities. So, hey, licensing is not exactly my forte. Everything I know I just said. So what I can do is also double check if there's a scenario in which Azure Search Service licensing would be in addition to the Copilot charge. I don't believe so. Nobody has said so that I've heard, but that's a great question, and I'll make sure to take it back and check it out. Um, and so, yes, I definitely think it will be, you can ask Copilot to check for accuracy, but That's like asking, my nephew to tell me how many cookies are left in the jar, right? When he's been eating them. Um, it's better that it have a human interaction to check for accuracy, and also just check that it's interpreted information correctly. Like it's kind of like the tone, right? Sometimes I will tell Copilot, hey, write this document with a more formal tone or a more casual tone, or a tone that's written specifically for people in the healthcare industry, for instance. And when you do things like that, you do need to check it from a human perspective. It is Copilot, not autopilot. It is running next to me, right? And so it needs my guidance. It needs my human capability. It needs my understanding and empathy of the subject space, and my critical thinking skills to be great. And so that is why I have little concern about it taking my job, because it requires me to actually execute well. And that's why I think Copilot is such a great name. And this is another component that I want to mention for all of us. The art of the prompt. When I talk about writing something in for Copilot and asking it to return some insights to me, that's called a turn, right? I put something in, it comes back, and I either keep it and use it, or I discard it. That's how we basically measure the success of a Copilot turn. There's some math and percentages going on there. But prompt engineering, how you ask the question, how you frame the interaction with your Copilot in whatever scenario it might be, is going to be a specialty area, and an area that I feel like, it is very similar to the type of query magic that people used to do in enterprise search, or when you're writing complex statements within SQL, or when we're doing data queries back in the day, that sort of thing. Becoming a prompt engineer is going to be a thing. And so this article that I'm referring to here, The Art of the Prompt, How to Get the Best Out of Generative AI, is definitely something that all of you should be thinking about. And I think there's going to be people, this is not going to be my thing particularly. Maybe if I was at a different stage of my career, it would. But I do think there are going to be people who are going to become those really advanced prompt engineers that developers and business folks will go to understand what that looks like. And there are ideas about how to share really great prompts and things of that nature. So more is coming on that front. But I definitely want you to be thinking about that prompt engineering track as a technical specialty, that is a new technical specialty in our industry. And again, you will see content on Microsoft Learn about this, and we'll be supporting people who want to make that their daily work. I've also included here in this deck some personal productivity scenario examples. There are many, many more, but it's always good when you're starting with something to kind of start with the basics. As I said, that first experience, you don't get that back. The first time that I had Copilot analyze my inbox, my unread email, I might have cried just a little. Anybody who knows me knows that I struggle with my inbox. I am not an inbox zero person. I'm a ping me on Teams person, actually. But since I moved organizations inside Microsoft, I now report to Adam Harmitz. And so there's a lot more email in my world now, because I don't sit directly in Teams engineering anymore with the new bigger job. And so the fact that I can have Copilot help me, with my email box is a wonderful thing. So again, that was part of my aha moment with Copilot. And these are just a little bit of examples about it. To stay up to date on Copilot and on Mesh, and all the good stuff that's happening, you want to bookmark adoption.microsoft.com. We're changing some stuff there as well. We're doing microsites for some of these big launches. We have a microsite for the new teams. We have a microsite for Copilot. We're building one for Mesh. And the AMC, adoption.microsoft.com microsites are designed to bring together the IT Pro content, the BDM content, the Adoption Manager content, and give you a springboard to end user content all in one place. We really are a bit of a front end for the Microsoft ecosystem with exception product pages to try to organize information, especially around these new and emerging services. And that is what we do. So on AMC WAC Copilot, you will find information. We have a community, a public Microsoft 365 community for Copilot, and we do monthly Ask Microsoft Anything events there. Those are free, and sometimes what's even more valuable is going through and looking at the answers to the questions that people have asked. A lot, of course, around responsible AI, around safety, but also around things like release dates and what have you, just like you've asked here. So you can see that. And of course, we have our blog announcements and what have you. But all of this will be updated again as we get past tomorrow's announcements. And more will be coming, as I mentioned, throughout the rest of the season. When you think about OpenAI services, when you think about Azure OpenAI services and our capabilities there are great ways to get started with that. And this is really kind of the builder's heaven, right? This is the place where you can go to the heart of creating your own large language models. You can really think about how you implement open AI services in your existing line of business applications. You can request access and what have you. So there's a lot to be done around OpenAI. Which is one of the main pillars, of course, of this transformation. And so you can certainly get started with that information as well. Those are my slides. I'm always thankful to be a part of this event, but now I kind of want to just maybe pivot and stop sharing. I'll share this deck with the organizers and just do some open Q&A about whatever across Microsoft 365. I'm happy to answer the questions that I have answers to. You'll probably keep asking ones that I don't have answers to, but I'll do my best. Nothing like giving a keynote the day before a big announcement event, right? It's a little dicey, but I'm trying to do everything I can to answer those questions. Hopefully that was helpful. A little less technical, but definitely want you to focus on those business outcomes. There's lots of people who will talk to you about the technical depth, but not as many of us who talk about that business value. And so that's always been my thing. And so it continues to be. Let me turn on chat over here.
Thank you. It was a great wrap up for the day. And I think everyone knows what to do tomorrow.
Good. Yes, that's great. Please go watch the event, stream it with your friends, share it on Twitter. And don't forget about the October 3rd event, the Future of File Management, which is our announcement event around OneDrive and other file management capabilities. Jeff Teeper and the team are super excited about that. And so, yes, no, I actually did these slides myself. This was not Copilot generated content, but I probably should take the talk track and turn it into a training memo because I need to teach more people how to give this presentation. You're only the third audience to hear me give this presentation. It's very, very new material. So all feedback welcome. If there's more technology I should do, if there's anything else that you think I should include in here, besides a roadmap, which I don't have. When I get a roadmap slide, I will be putting it in this deck, but please definitely give me the feedback.
It will be tomorrow, so no worries about that one.
Excellent. Any questions, anything else that I can answer for folks about anything across Microsoft 365? I'm happy to break out of the Metaverse and Copilot bubble too if you have questions about something else.
Can you provide a link for tomorrow for the event in New York?
Yes, I think it's in the chat already, but maybe you all can repost that. And what I can do though is let me provide the link really quickly to this. There is a tech community post. Here we go. On the future of file management. Let me give you that link really quickly here. Oh, this is odd. Just got to a strange version of the link. There it is. Yes,
Thank
and
you.
this will give you the link to this event right here. Control V. There you go.
Super.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about both of these. Tomorrow and October 3rd. For anybody who's been in the productivity space for any period of time, both of these events will be pretty monumental for us. They have a big impact on the way that we do our jobs, and the best practices and the things that we share with customers. And so, yeah, staying up to date is important. Excellent.
One question, Karuana, Kurt
Sure.
from no, it's just that Bing Chat gives so wonderful references to where it's found stuff. That's not something that we'll find in Copilot, is it? I believe the answer is no, but
Yeah, actually it does. So what it will do, you have the ability in Copilot to put in a whack, and like if I'm asking a question, then I put in a whack, then it'll pop me up a list of documents that I can include in its reference. So if it uses those, it says it uses those. It doesn't tell you across the environment, like if it took content from a SharePoint site, it doesn't note that. That's an
okay.
interesting piece of feedback. Wouldn't it be nice if it did?
Yeah, but then again, if the answer comes from the aggregation from a huge number of documents and the large language model, the
Right.
list of references could be as long
Yes.
as whatever, you know.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I sort of get that idea, but it's just really what I like about using Bing Chat is that it comes up with the references, so I can easily go and sort of check out what if I doubt the answer. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives you that ability to, like I said, fact check it, right?
yeah,
We think
exactly.
about the question, we pose the question to our Copilot friend, and then we fact check it. And that is the way the workflow goes. So yeah, it's good.
But it's just having been in this space for many years and also had networking groups and special interest groups about certs. I just happen to know that there's a lot of work to be done before you really can let it go on your whole tenant, I believe. Because I think you might get away with it in an area for HR that might be reviewed and fact checked and whatever, but I also know it is possible to say, hey, just go to the HR site and only look there, or only look in safety or whatever, whenever you're looking for things. So and I just saw one of the vendors was actually built on top of this, that you can search alone in this, so they have pre-defined the scoping of the HR document or the safety document or whatever.
Yes, you can absolutely. You can absolutely do that. And like another valuable scenario is having a particular Copilot, like in customer service, mining your customer service information for similar problems, that sort of thing. So those scenarios are unlimited. Yes, I think that it'll be very interesting when people just turn it on in their organization. We have at Microsoft, obviously. It is on, and those of us in the early adopter program can search across whatever we have access to. That for me is super valuable, but not every place will feel comfortable with that. But nonetheless, definitely implementing it in these key scenarios: customer service, as I keep saying, at healthcare, HR, safety. These places where we have repositories of knowledge we need to get more from, and that where we can use that knowledge to help us make decisions better, I think is really a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
So yes, using the right tool. I love this chat here. Basic prompting strategies. Yes, as we release more of our Microsoft Learn content around this and some other things, you're going to see us, leading the industry, dare I say, on how to become a prompt engineer and what that really means. And I think that that is, you know, going to be an important capability as you kind of go forward.
And another
Fantastic.
feature.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, another feature that I thought would be fantastic is if you could actually use Copilot to prepare your data. Well, I just happen to know that one of our members actually has worked on it and found out they had 9.6 versions in average of every document in the company.
Right.
Yeah, and this is a large company, and the thing is just really to be able to find those large numbers of documents, and then at least to get the big.
Right.
Yeah,
What is
I'm
the
just saying.
authoritative source? If you have 9.6 versions of the same document, what is the authoritative source that tells me there's an intranet strategy that needs to be implemented, right? And this is where I want to say, yeah, fun with fundamentals is still a thing. Like having a smart intranet strategy, having departments and hub sites defined, maybe using Viva connections, whatever, you know, so there's a lot of prep work that we already should be doing. But now Copilot is giving us a reason to do that for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful to be with all of you again. Like I said, I really appreciate being included. Thank you so much. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I also want to make a quick pitch for the LinkedIn page for the Microsoft community. If you haven't, check that out. Let me make sure I have the right LinkedIn. I'm going to put the link out here in the chat. But we have a show there every Monday called Mondays at Microsoft. My good friend Heather Newman and I, and we review what's happening at Microsoft across the Microsoft ecosystem. There's so much going on right now that it's super important to try to keep everybody up to date. We review any announcements that have happened, things of that nature. And then we also highlight different community events that are going on as a part of our global community initiative. So if you haven't joined us here, hopefully this is going to paste in. There it goes. If you haven't joined, if you're on LinkedIn and you haven't joined the community page, please do. Excited to have folks out there and keep everybody together.
There was just one question about SAP Copilot and
Power Up. I think that is a yes. I would have to check with my connector friends and make sure that was the case. But I believe that our partnership allows that through the standard connector. Yes, I believe that is true.
Hello, I know that exists already a standard connector. The idea is if you try to test already and if you have any results, because I consider quite interesting to have many business content in SAP. Yes. And to use Microsoft Copilot to make simple interrogation
yes,
based
I am
on
quite
some
sure.
business areas.
I have not personally tested it, but ask me that question after tomorrow, but also after, I'll say, October 15th.
Imagine in Microsoft like that, using SAP, show me the sales of today. Not running a report, Microsoft Copilot to go to correct connector in the module of SAP and to give the sales of today.
Oh yeah, I get this scenario 100%. I just can't speak more about our partnership today. Yeah, and I have not personally tested it. Otherwise, I would tell you. But yes, again, as I said, I don't think there's going to be a scenario or a partner that Microsoft 365 Copilot or Copilot capabilities broadly across Microsoft will not enable. Absolutely. All right. Yes, I am. I am speaking at the Digital Workplace Conference. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. So it's very exciting. Very exciting. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for attending this great event. Thank you to the organizers who did such a great job. Really appreciate you and the time you put into this community event. Super important. And remember, people first. Thanks, everyone.